those guys. Like, you didn't see those guys on the rest of the 2 hours, but that first hour, boom, kick that shit off live, son.
Even towards...
Shit was lit before lit was lit.
Even towards, like, the end of WCW, I feel like they did a good job of, like, going, hey, man, there's, like, some fucking cruiserweight action at the beginning. Watch this before you watch Raw.
Yeah, they had the cruiserweight tag title.
That was the
which has only been 2 people.
So 95, WCW starts going strong. 96, obviously they're like, hey, we're the NWO, check it out. Then they overtake the WWE.
They do
in ratings.
72 weeks. 73.
During this time frame, ECW invades Raw.
They do.
I think was live. I wasn't watching wrestling at this time. They were
kind of secretly funded, were they not, by Vince?
I think there was some of that. Yes, I think Vince saw them as a. I think as I've read, I've listened to some shoot interviews with people, and I think there was like times where Vince would be like, "Oh, here's maybe not Vince himself, but someone in the WWE would be like, here's enough money to make payroll."
Well, I'm sure it was from Vince to that person, to said person, to...
Well, yeah, I agree with that too. But.
Because obviously they were, before Ring of Honor started, they were the people that they kind of took a lot of people from. Like, obviously they're going to take people from WCW because that was their direct competition.
That was their main rival.
Right, but if they were able to, like, kind of, like, help massage and farm league some people, kind of what ECW was going on there. So, because, I mean, Steve Austin... They weren't getting him straight from WCW. He had to go prove that he could actually talk on a mic. Boom. Sign that son.
I mean, he was still injured, I think, when he did that too. So I think Paul Heyman, and who knows, maybe that was Vince being like, Paul, see if fucking dude can talk.
Paul can get anything out of anybody.
So ECW invades Raw in 97. The screw job happens in November of 97. We're deep in the Monday Nitro or the Monday Night Wars at this point. Obviously Stone Cold, The Rock, Mankind are catching fire at this point. But there was a time between like 96 and 98 where WCW was kicking the shit out of WWF.
Because NWO was just rocking and rolling all over the place.
They were, and it's probably the only time I can think of a professional wrestling company. And I wasn't watching at this point, unfortunately, but like it's the only time I can remember since WrestleMania I that WWF's had their backs against the wall.
I've heard many stories where Vince would literally forward the money from his own bank account over because he's like, I mean, we're not making the money, and that's why a lot of, if you look at old WWF, like the entrances and the rampways, it was super simple, and not just because it was the time that we were in, but it's because they couldn't afford it. So like that's why, like, whenever they did it recently, when they stopped doing fireworks and pyros and stuff, it was a bit to take the money back from having to hire somebody to make sure nothing catches on fire and making sure that we don't spend money on shooting off pyros. So like they had to have that money to be able to pay the guys and to pay everybody. But then of course, they like that locker room, from what I heard, was just super tight, and it was like it's them against us, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, and then obviously that was it, and
yeah.
So
then the tide started coming back.
It went back towards the end. Like towards the end of the Monday Night War, it was like at first WWE won, and the WCW would win a couple times, and then it was WWF a lot more. WCW led WCW, and then WWF just took off with it.
Exactly.
To the point that in March of 2001, WWF bought WCW.
Yep. And then 2 or 3 months later,
and then in January of 2002, ECW went out of business.
Yes.
So within a less than a year period, this business went from, and it was a booming business during this time frame.
That was the last wrestling boom before we're in now.
That was wrestling was a water cooler topic.
Yep.
They were on the cover of TV Guide. They were they were in Chef Boyardee commercials. We were in high school at that time, so like you would go to school on Tuesday and be like, "Oh my God, did you watch Raw last night?" And you'd be talking about Kane fucking choke slamming someone through a table. You'd be talking about The Undertaker fucking crucifying Steve Austin. Like, it was nuts back then.
There wasn't a time, like, literally people who were, I was like, wait, you watch wrestling? It was like, dude, you should have seen the Royal Rumble. Vince, like, got out of the ring, Stone Cold chased him, and then they were out for a long time. Then they come back, fucking Vince dumps Stone Cold over, and all of a sudden he's the winner, and
But it was like that was a thing. That, like now, if you go up to people and you're like, "Hey, do you watch wrestling?" They're like, "No."
No.
But like if you went up to people and like, "Hey, do you watch wrestling?" and they went, "No," back then everyone was like, "What?
Yeah, what the fuck is
You
wrong
don't
with you?
watch wrestling? You're crazy." So 2002, they go out of business. June of 2004, TNA starts.
It was 2002.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. It totally was June of 2002.
I just mentioned.
Sorry, I got that you totally did.
About Jeff Jarrett.
So it gets started with their weird weekly pay-per-views, which at the time,
it's a smart idea.
Right, yeah, at the
because
time
I think they were
sounded-
charging like what, $6?
No, we were like $14.95.
Why would I pay $15?
Because right, like that's exactly what I said too. I was like, it was either $9.95 or $14.95 a week.
Right.
If you had charged something like that, it might have been more possible, but I don't think they made any money if it was that low.
Good point.
Because like
because how many people were they really getting? Plus, they got to book everything, pay the guys. You know,
the pay-per-view providers take money out, so it's not like it's not the pay-per-view providers are not out there doing a fucking charity.
Fair
They're
enough.
taking
15
their
would
money.
make a lot more sense.
Here's what happened in June of 2004. Impact started on Fox Sports at 3 in the afternoon on like a Friday.
Terrible idea.
But it got them some exposure because that's how I found out about them.
Oh.
I remember being home one day because I was working at a fucking toy store, but I was like, I'd already gotten off that day, and I was like on the computer.
Is that toy store out of business too?
That toy store is out of business.
Shocking.
So I'm sitting there, and I don't know why. I guess my dad had left it on Fox Sports, and I turned on the TV, and I was like eating food or whatever, and I had my back to the TV, but I was like listening to the sports, I guess. And then I heard like wrestling, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I can
and then
see
I
you
saw that
slowly,
I did.
like,
That's
turning
exactly what
around.
I was. I was like, "What is happening?" And then I see the 6-sided ring, and I'm like, "What the
Right.
fuck is
The six-sided
this?"
room is genius.
So I'm at the computer immediately. I'm like, start Googling. What the hell is this? I got y'all into it pretty quickly thereafter.
Yeah, because the X division was
insane.
fucking killer.
And like, I honestly believe at that time, between I would say 2004 when we first started watching, and maybe 2006, 2007, TNA had the better in-ring product
Without a doubt.
compared to WWE. They did not have the best main event scene,
Right.
but the X division was hands down the most fun thing that I was watching in wrestling at that time.
The three ways between Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe, I could watch all day.
I could still watch those matches. That's how good they are.
Yes.
Like they are still good enough that you could watch them and be like, "Fuck yeah, absolutely."
They hold
agree.
Now, you're missing somebody between this time frame, though.
Who?
A good old Ring of Honor.
Oh yeah. But I don't. I've never considered Ring of Honor a direct competitor to the WWE.
You know what? I haven't either, but they are genuinely like almost now. They're not the feeder, but they do take quite a bit of talent from. Because I mean, look at your top guys now, minus Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like our Ring of Honor, and I think Ring of Honor is the second biggest
I
promotion
think
in America.
Absolutely, not in the world, in America.
But I still don't like when I look at Ring of Honor. I do not see a direct competitor to the WWE.
No, neither do I, because they're literally doing something completely different from.
And
the
I
WWE.
think it works for them.
I think it does too.
You're right. They were brought. They did come around the same time. But Ring of
2002.
Honor's goal has never been like, "Hey, we're gonna beef with the WWE."
Right.
TNA's goal from the beginning was, "We are beefing with the
Yes,
WWE."
you're right.
Even though the WWE never acknowledged them, like for
No,
years.
not
Like
at all.
I'd say, like it took them 15 years to finally be like, "Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah,
We got AJ Styles from there.
right.
That's cool.
You know the Sting compilation we're putting together? Yeah, we got Dixie Carter on the documentary.
Got him on there."
Yeah.
TNA is a thing. I would say honestly though, by like 2007, 2008, like it's gotten to the point where if you were a WWE guy, no matter who you are, Tyson Tomko, you've been released from the WWE. Come on, get a world title from.
Yep.
I mean, all right,
He didn't win the
Tomko
world
didn't
title.
get one, but
he
you
was
know what
with
I'm
the world
saying,
title
like,
or with champion Christian Cage. So
it was. I'm glad that it existed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad that it was around. It was good. I think it did. I think the X Division did give those Ring of Honor guys
Right.
and all those indie guys a bigger platform to do what is considered like mainstream wrestling today. Because what they did in the X Division is what they're doing. What AJ Styles and Seth Rollins are going to do tonight.
oh, exactly.
So
I mean, AJ Styles kind of started and built Ring of Honor, and then he left to go help build TNA. And then TNA was built off of AJ Styles. And then, of course, he went to go be the man who, the champ that runs the camp and the house that AJ Styles built on SmackDown.
So
And now he's on Raw.
I'd say by the mid or the late 2000s, though, TNA is, while they are still trying to compete with the WWE, because then they went live at one point.
They did
with Hulk Hogan. They went live.
You can't go that old, and if you can't. So here's the thing: I like Hulk Hogan. I have no problem with Hulk Hogan. Maybe don't go have sex with other people's wives on camera, and then say
definitely not maybe
nefarious things. Yeah, definitely don't do
that.
And then don't say nefarious things about other races. But here's the thing: if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, he is still the name in pro
absolutely.
wrestling.
I agree completely.
So
I got why they did it.
I did it. I got it too. But then don't make him wrestle. I don't. I
mean, they
wrestle.
don't think they really made him wrestle. He did do a couple.
Oh,
of
he
things,
wants. He still wants to wrestle for WWE, so he didn't make
he wants
him
to have
do
a
anything.
match against, I think, John Cena.
Okay. I heard John Cena may have retired. I don't think that's true though.
Good for him.
Good for everyone. Really,
he's good. Stop. So I'd say by 2008, 2009, like TNA is a thing, but they're not really a thing.
The
anymore.
problem with TNA was not their in-ring competition either. It was generally what was going on behind the curtains. It was the people.
And also, they could never find the audience.
No, they couldn't.
Wrestling at one point was drawing between the two TV shows, between Raw and SmackDown, like a 14 rating.
Yeah. Which is so weird because in the exact same city, Orlando, NXT is fucking killing it. But TNA somehow couldn't find that exact same audience in the exact same city.
I mean, I went to the Impact Zone during this time frame, and it was really fun. But like, it did not seem.
How small was it?
I was small. It was like a 900-seat arena.
Oh,
yeah, it's not big at all.
I didn't imagine it was too big.
It was like watching.
I'm guessing there's more on the hard camera side than the non-hard camera side.
No, it was about even on
both
sides.
Okay,
yeah.
I just imagine it would be on that side.
I was on the hard camera side, but of course,
I was. Everybody, they want everybody to be on the hard camera.
They really
side.
did. They were definitely like, no, come over here first.
No.
Me and Sergio were like, right in the middle, please, thank you.
Yeah.
And we did, and it was great. But actually, I'm not sure that we were hard camera for the pay-per-view for the shows or for the TV shows, the TV taping.
Have you gone back and looked at those?
Not really.
Oh, maybe you should check them out.
I don't have an instant way.
If you have Impact Plus, you could easily check them out. Plus all the pay-per-views if you pay a little. I don't know how their system works. I know they have Impact Plus though. That's their new streaming service.
Okay.
It's a good plug.
But yeah, right now AEW I think is the next iteration of.
Without a doubt, because between 2008 and now, it became
the internet helped.
The internet did
become.
Help. Yeah.
It helped all these small promotions become what I would consider the main rival. Mm-hmm. Collectively, all these small promotions collectively were the main rival, and with new like I would consider Ring of Honor, New Japan. Like PWG, Shikara, all these small promotions that were kind of using the same guys. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
like, they were using roughly the same guys. Like the guys that got big in Ring of Honor and New Japan were the same guys that they were using in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, that they were using in Ring of Honor, Shikara,
any other local promotion.
All those big indie promotions. So I would say in some ways, since 2008, those promotions have been the second promotion, and All Elite is the culmination of that.
I can see that. And I mean, also they saw what they did with All In, and they did that by themselves. They had the con money. Okay, it was there.
I think the cons were like.
I really think it was there, but they're not saying as much as they probably could.
Well, I don't think it was there, and I think it was possibility. And then once they saw how good All In was, and how everyone was like, "Damn, All In was a good fucking show."
Right.
Like from production to in-ring work to writing, it was a good show. And I think when everyone saw that, they were like, "These fucking kids know what the fuck they're doing. Let's give them some money." And now the cons are poised, I think, to ride that into. I'm not sure it's going to be a direct war with it. I think it'll be more like TNA and WWE's war right now. However, what we were talking about earlier about the contracts, with people like the Revival turning down $500,000 a year contracts to go work for AEW, or for the possibility of going to work for AEW. If it's not a war now, it will be soon. Where do you think John Moxley's going?
Exactly.
Mox is going to fucking all Elite. Of course he is.
Honestly, especially now that so within the past week, we have realized that Pac will not face Hangman Page at All Elite Wrestling. They did, in fact, face each other in England this past weekend.